She slipped the black credit card into his trembling hand. She expected disgust, greed, or at least hesitation. Instead, she saw something far more dangerous to her carefully guarded heart: gratitude mixed with quiet dignity. The homeless single father standing before her did not look like a man about to be tested. He looked like a man who had already been tested by life and somehow survived. That single moment, beneath the flickering streetlight on a cold evening, would unravel everything she believed about wealth, trust, and what it truly meant to be rich. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of human compassion, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that touch the soul. Her name was Evelyn Carter, a self-made billionaire known across the city for her sharp instincts and colder reputation. She had built an empire from nothing after a childhood filled with betrayals, broken promises, and poverty that taught her never to trust appearances. Success had armored her heart. She donated to charities, but always from a distance. She funded shelters but never stepped inside them. For Evelyn, generosity was strategic, never personal. That night, however, she had chosen to walk alone after a long charity gala, needing air, space, and silence from a world that praised her while never truly knowing her. It was on that quiet street that she noticed him sitting against the brick wall, a small child asleep in his arms, wrapped in a threadbare jacket far too thin for the winter air. The man was young, perhaps in his early 30s, his face worn not by age but by exhaustion. His beard was untrimmed, his clothes clean but clearly old, patched carefully as if he refused to let them fall apart completely. The child, a little girl with tangled hair and a pale face, clung to him instinctively. Even in sleep, Evelyn had walked past dozens of homeless people before, her gaze trained to slide away, but something about the way he shielded the child from the wind made her stop. Not out of pity, she told herself, but curiosity. She asked a simple question, one she had rehearsed in her mind as neutral and detached. He looked up, startled, and answered with respect, not desperation. He explained his situation without embellishment or excuses. A widower, a factory closure, medical bills, shelters were full, family was gone, pride was the only thing he had left, and even that was thinning. Evelyn felt an unfamiliar tightening in her chest. She told herself it was an experiment, nothing more. She reached into her purse and pulled out her personal credit card, the one linked to an account so vast it barely registered purchases under 5 figures. She handed it to him with a simple condition: he could use it for one day, no limits, no supervision. She wanted to see what a desperate man would do with unlimited access to wealth. Would he vanish? Would he buy luxury, alcohol, comfort for himself? She wrote her number on a scrap of paper and told him to return the card by the next evening. In her mind, the test was already designed to confirm her beliefs. The man accepted the card with both hands, not as someone holding power, but as someone holding responsibility. He thanked her, not with dramatic emotion, but with quiet sincerity. As Evelyn walked away, she felt oddly unsettled. She expected excitement or smug satisfaction at her clever test, but instead she felt a strange anxiety she could not explain. That night, sleep came in fragments. Images of the man and his child kept returning, and for the first time in years, Evelyn wondered if she had crossed a line she did not fully understand. The next morning, she reviewed her account activity obsessively, expecting to see extravagant charges. Designer stores, electronics, hotels. Hours passed with nothing. By afternoon, small charges began to appear, modest ones that made no sense to her. A grocery store, a pharmacy, a second-hand clothing shop, then a larger charge from a medical clinic, followed by another from a school supply store. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, confusion replacing suspicion. This was not how tests were supposed to go. As the day went on, more charges appeared, none of them selfish, none of them reckless. Near evening, a final significant transaction posted from a modest apartment complex. Security deposit and first month's rent. Her heart began to pound, not with triumph, but with something dangerously close to shame. She could not wait until the agreed time. Evelyn left her office early and drove through neighborhoods she had only seen from reports and statistics. When she reached the address tied to the apartment charge, She parked and watched from her car. The building was old but clean, the kind of place people passed without noticing. She saw him emerge, carrying the little girl on his shoulders now, her laughter echoing down the street. He looked lighter, straighter, as if the weight on his spine had eased just enough to let him breathe again. Evelyn felt tears threaten. An unfamiliar burn she fought instinctively. She followed discreetly as he walked to a nearby diner. Through the window, she saw him order modest meals, ensuring the child ate first, watching her with a softness that felt almost sacred. Later that evening, he returned the credit card exactly as promised. He had cleaned himself up, hair trimmed, beard neat, wearing clothes that fit but were clearly inexpensive. He handed the card back without hesitation, along with the folded envelope. Inside was a handwritten list detailing every purchase, every reason: food for a week so his daughter would not sleep hungry, medicine she needed for a lingering cough, warm clothes, a deposit on a small apartment near a public school, fees for daycare interviews so he could look for work. He had even used part of the money to pay outstanding balances for 2 other families at the shelter they had stayed in. Briefly, families he said were worse off than him. Evelyn broke. The wall she had built over decades cracked silently as she realized the truth she had avoided her entire life. This man had been given the freedom to choose anything, and he chose responsibility. He chose dignity. He chose others. She had expected the test to reveal his flaws, but instead it exposed her own. All her wealth, all her power, and yet she had never once trusted anyone the way this man trusted life to give him another chance. She asked him to tell her more, not as a billionaire observing a subject, but as a human being trying to understand another. Over time, she learned about his late wife, how she had passed suddenly, how the factory job had been his lifeline until it vanished without warning. She learned how he had walked miles each day looking for work while carrying his daughter when shelters were unsafe or full. She learned how he had sold his wedding ring for food, not once regretting it. With every detail, Evelyn felt her heart soften, reshape. Remember what it was like to hope. What she did next was not charity, it was commitment. Evelyn did not give him money and walk away. She used her resources to help him secure stable employment through one of her companies, not as a favor, but because he was qualified and dependable. She arranged childcare support, education assistance, and legal aid to clear barriers that poverty had stacked against him. She did not announce it to the press. She did not brand it with her name. She simply stayed involved, checking in, listening, learning. Months passed, and the transformation was quiet but powerful. The little girl grew healthier, her laughter fuller. The apartment filled with warmth, small decorations, and the feeling of home. The man regained not just stability, but confidence. He worked hard, saved carefully, and volunteered at the same shelter that once housed him. He never forgot where he came from, and he never let gratitude turn into entitlement. Evelyn, meanwhile, found herself changed in ways no boardroom victory had ever achieved. She started visiting the shelters she funded. She listened to stories. She learned names. Her philanthropy became personal, and her life became richer for it. One evening, long after the test had faded into memory, Evelyn attended a school event for the little girl. She watched from the back as the child stood proudly on stage, reading aloud with confidence, her father's eyes shining with quiet pride. In that moment, Evelyn understood something profound. Wealth was not measured by numbers on a screen, but by the lives you chose to lift when no one was watching. The credit card had been a test, yes, but not of the man she handed it to. It had been a test of her own humanity, one she had nearly failed. Before this story ends, take a moment to comment below with the word hope if you believe one act of kindness can change a life. Your words matter more than you know. As the years went on, their paths remained connected, not by obligation, but by mutual respect. The man built a future for his daughter, one rooted in stability and compassion. Evelyn rebuilt her own heart, learning that trust, once broken, could be repaired through courage and humility. The night she gave away her credit card became the night she reclaimed a part of herself she thought was lost forever. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the goodness still alive in the world, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more stories that remind us who we can be. Sometimes, The smallest test reveals the biggest truth, and sometimes, what breaks us open is exactly what we need to finally feel whole again.